Hello fellow scale modelers, welcome back to another video. It's your host Ray. So today's video is an explanation video about federal signal siren ID badges and ID tags. So if you thought this was a scale model review, I'm sorry it's not, but this does have to do with scale models and sirens. So if you're interested in this and want to hear more, then keep watching, but if you don't, then you can just leave the video and continue browsing YouTube. So there's a lot to cover, and I don't have anything else to say, so let's begin. So as I mentioned earlier, these are ID badges. I'll show you an ID tag later. But these ID badges are fit on only Federal Signal sirens, sirens produced by the company Federal Signal. And yes, I am aware, and you should be aware too, that the company went under many different under a few names, like Federal Enterprises, Federal Sign and Signal, and after Federal Sign and Signal, they changed their name to Federal Signal Corporation, and that is their name today. Now, these ID badges can be found on the exterior of certain sirens, I think on most, if not all, of their sirens that they produced. And on your screen, you will see a few different examples of where these ID badges were fitted on different sirens. But these ID badges here are specific to certain Thunderbolt sirens that did exist in real life, and I'll explain the backstory of these exact badges here in a few minutes. So here is my freshest ID badge. It's actually custom made for me. It's not original to any sort of siren, but I did have the information printed or stamped on it to match the information of a certain siren that did exist in real life. And as I said earlier, I will explain the information and matching stuff to the siren that exists in real life. But yes, as I said earlier, these ID badges display information about the siren they are bolted to. This one in specific is fitted to large sirens like the Thunderbolt 2T22, 3T22, SD10, Model 7, 5, 3, and 2, and many different other sirens produced by Federal. They display the type, the serial number, the cycles, the phase, the amperage, the volts, and the horsepower. And this is the most common type of ID badge. There are ID badges that display less information or are formatted differently. I believe, I'm not exactly sure about those, but they're put on smaller sirens like the Model A, the Model L, smaller sirens like those. And I think they're put on vehicle-mounted sirens. I was about to say something weird. I think they're put on vehicle-mounted sirens. However, I'm not sure. I think the badges on those are even smaller. And unfortunately, I do not have any examples, or I don't possess any examples of a different ID badge other than like what would be fitted on a large siren. But I do have some screenshots and pictures, and this is what they look like. So yeah, nothing too special. Now you can see that this one says that the siren was manufactured by Federal Enterprises. That is basically Federal Signal, but their name was Federal Enterprises between some part of the 1950s, early 1950s, late 1940s, through 1954. Then in 1954 and 1955, they changed their name to Federal Sign and Signal Corporation. Then sometime in the 70s, I believe, they changed their name to Federal Signal Corporation, and their name still remains that way to this day. And fun fact, Federal Signal still makes these kinds of ID badges, just in Federal Signal Corporation. It says manufactured by Federal Signal Corporation instead of manufactured by Federal Sign and Signal. And they're a little bit different to these ID badges here. They display more, the information that is displayed is formatted different, and I think it displays a little more information as well. Now, enough said about that. I want to go over why I have these ID badges to begin with. So we'll start with my Evanston Fire Station 4 Thunderbolt diorama. Most of you know that some of you know that this thing was the first Thunderbolt siren I ever heard up close in person, and it was removed in February of 2020. And unfortunately, no one was able to obtain it or save it, and I believe it's been scrapped. The blower's been The blower I think still exists. It's just being parted out because of the type of blower this thing had. The type of blower that was produced between 1952 and 1958. This one's a 1954 model, by the way. The Thunderbolt, at least, is a 1954 model. I should have been more specific about that. The blowers fitted on those, or the air compressor sitting down here, those things can weigh almost a little more than half a ton if at heaviest. So there's no way that the company that took these down can disassemble them without an engine hoist or a crane. So in hindsight, they're really heavy. Now, this badge, I was unable to save the original ID badge that was on the rotator enclosure of the Thunderbolt. I did paint it on the model here, and I did get numerous pictures of it, but they're all in really low quality, so I'm not going to show them. There are a few other high-quality pictures that do display the numbers well, and with that information, I was able to order a custom ID badge for me and print the information on it. So I'll move the camera. So you can see the information. It's a Thunderbolt 1000, meaning it was originally a single tone. However, the chopper the chopper assembly was converted to a dual tone, and the ID badge wasn't changed at all. So that's a reliable source of information to tell us that it was originally single tone. The serial number is T-485, which means it is the 485th Thunderbolt ever produced. And judging by other Thunderbolts that we do for sure know the year of, this is a 1954 model. And of course, there's also a newspaper article that tells us that this was installed in April of 1954. So yeah, it's got 60 cycles. I'm not sure what that means. It's a 3-phase model, 220 volts, and it's a 10 horsepower model. The amperage is not given to us. Now here is the more interesting one. I recently got this ID badge over the last week, and you can tell it's been very weathered down and it looks very old. Well, this ID badge is the original ID badge that came off of the Evanston Fire Station 5 Thunderbolts. This one is also a 1954 model. I originally thought it was a 1955 model, but it's actually a 1954 model. I determined this with the serial number. This is the original ID badge that came off of the, I already told you guys that. And I actually managed to capture a few pictures of the Thunderbolt siren, and you can see the badge on the rotator enclosure. And it's pretty cool. I did take someone else took some pictures of the ID badge, and that's how we were able to obtain the information. But when this thing was removed in January of 2020, someone was there to obtain the horn and the siren head. 2 people were there. One of them took the horn, the other took the siren head and the RCM and the FC one-way controller there. And the guy who took the horn also managed to save the ID badge here. This was on the siren head. It was fitted on the rotator enclosure. This one here displays the exact same information, except we know that it's got 34 amps, and this was actually put on the blower. And yeah, this is the one that's on the blower. They basically share the identical information, just this one's a bit more weathered because, I mean, it was on the ground. And yeah. And yeah, I'll just show you the information on this one. Sorry about the camera skills. So as you can tell, this one was a 1000, and that means it's a single tone model. And it was always a single tone model. The chopper was never converted, which is pretty cool, so that's nice. 10 horsepower, 220 volts, 3-phase power, and 60 cycles. Produced by Federal Sign and Signal Corporation. And the serial number is T-636, which is the 636th Thunderbolt ever produced. I believe this might have been a late 1954, possibly early 1955 model. But by this time, Federal had changed their name to Federal Sign and Signal Corporation. So yeah, that's pretty cool that I was able to get the badge on the head and the blower. But let's not forget about the ID tag that was on the blower motor. I also managed to get that one from the guy who got the horn of the original Thunderbolts. He sent this to me as well, and it's pretty cool. This ID tag can be seen on many different Federal sirens. However, it's not as common, and there's definitely different formats of it. Like the Federal Enterprises and Federal Sign and Signal models are the same. However, this type of tag is different on Federal Signal Corporation models. So here it says 3-phase, 220 volts, 60 cycles. The temperature rise in Celsius is 40 degrees, 7.5 horsepower, 1,750 RPM. Damn, that's fast. Whatever the FL stands for. Amps is 19.2. The type is an SN, which a lot of you are very confused at that because this is a 1954 6M model. And I'll explain I'll explain the blowers and motor thing later. And the serial number, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do with that, but it's 305848. And the rest you can just read there. Now, as for the type, it's, I believe, referring to the motor or the blower. It's got to be one of the two. And when we first heard the name SN, we all thought it was the type of blower that was fitted onto the 1952 and 1953 jail bar Thunderbolt models, because that blower looks a little different to the 6M blower that was fitted onto 1953 to 1958 models. So we thought it was an entirely different blower, but according to research of a siren enthusiast, those blower models, even though they look different, they're nearly the exact same. Only the earlier models were produced by the company URAI, and the later models that we're all familiar to, the later 6M models, were produced by Suterbilt. So hope that clears up any confusion. Now, we've seen SN and RL before. SN is for 3-phase motors and RL is for single phase. I'm not exactly sure what those letters mean, and if you do know what those letters mean or want to take a guess, please feel free to do so in the comment section. So sorry for the long video. That's it for this video though, so you can finally leave. I'm sorry. Like, comment, and subscribe. Feel free to drop a comment down below. Tell me what you think. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'll try and answer them as soon as possible. And that's it for this video. I'll see you guys in my next video, and stay tuned for more content. Peace out.